Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I can hit
Okay,
the button.
we'll get going. I'll do a quick little bio and we'll jump into it. All right, we got a fun one tonight. We've got a fellow Canadian. He's an independent filmmaker, actor, journalist, hypnologist, as well as a hypnotist, I believe, and a laughologist. And his latest movie was that he directed was "You Are What You Act," which is super fascinating. So thanks for coming on the show and talking to us about it.
Great to be here, actually.
Yeah, it's we're both inspired after watching your stuff, and I mean we've already sort of teased a little bit more of stuff that we don't know about yet about your work. And I mean, I don't know where to start, but I do think it's fascinating that you've it seems like you kind of stumbled across the acting part of all this, and you ended up like putting it all together almost through synchronistic events. But you found all these threads and you put them all together to something that's pretty fascinating. Maybe we could talk about the genesis of that movie. I guess would probably be a good place to start.
Yeah, perfect place to start. So I just did a documentary for the CBC called "You Are What You Act," and the kind of I might as well just explain how I got on the story. Like a lot of people, I was reading the newspaper and I read the story about Tom Cruise, the actor, rescuing somebody in real life, and I thought that sounds like a scene from a Tom Cruise movie. And then I looked a little deeper and I realized he's done it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And so then I started thinking maybe other actors who play certain roles are doing the same thing. And so Harrison Ford has rescued people a bunch of times. Vin Diesel has. And then people who sometimes play people who die have died in real life or killed people in real life.
Right, yeah.
So that's how it started.
And what did you find? I mean, that you just blew my mind right there, saying that Tom Cruise has saved 5 people's lives.
Well,
in real
no,
life.
no, he's not necessarily saved lives. I think he's been in a rescue type of environment. I don't know if they've all been like life or death, but he's been there and he's acted before other people have acted.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of situations where actors, because it's ingrained, they've been practicing this over and over, take after take. When a real life situation happens, boom, they're in there. Before, like, I'd just freak out and like I'd be in shock. I wouldn't know what to do.
Haven't you taken your first aid course?
No.
Oh. I'm a trained first aider.
Yeah.
I know exactly how to react.
But that actually kind of makes sense because, one of the theory in the film is that when people are faced with something they don't understand, like a bomb going off or a guy with a gun or something like that, they tend to freeze. It's human nature. You actually you may not even have a decision in it. It just happens to you. It's an unconscious decision. But if you have pictures, so if you have taken a first aid course where you saw images of like, I go over to the person that's on the ground, they're bleeding, and I cover the wound or whatever it is, just the pictures in your mind might cause you to break the freeze. And that makes a big difference. You break the freeze, you have a story you can follow, and then you just do it. So the theory of the film is that if actors are basically acting out their roles, their main roles, the roles that identify with the most, could the rest of us do it too?
Yeah.
In other ways.
Well, I definitely noticed that in conversation. I mean, after doing 300 and some podcasts, I find myself talking way more than I was 5 years ago. If the room goes dead, I start yapping.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense also that what you talk about is what you sort of become more of, though not in every way.
Yeah.
Some people say you are what you think, you are what you say, a little bit.
Yeah. So is it all like just rebuilding neural pathways and like how an athlete would practice over and over and then it becomes second nature and they get into this flow state, or is it more metaphysical than that? It seems to have a bit of both in a way.
Well, I thought, it is metaphysical. So let me give you a weird example. And I think a lot of it's uncharted, weirdly enough.
Okay.
So you take a Canadian team, actually in your hometown, Vancouver, they figured out that the victory pose is universal. So the victory pose, you see it everywhere. So that's what, you're at a hockey game, you throw up your arms. Yeah! That's the victory pose. And we just think of it, I do that when my team scores. But that's a universal human behavior. They know this because even blind athletes, so athletes that are born blind, when they win races, they throw up their arms in the victory pose. When I did the research,
How do they know they won?
Yeah, somebody tells them somehow. Somebody in Braille. They get a note in Braille.
So it's not like at the moment, it's a little while later. It's like, you won. Yes. Or they hear their name announced or something.
It must be they hear their name. Yeah, and they do the victory pose. Now, here's the weird thing. You would think, so when they explain the victory pose, they're like, there's one victory pose. But actually, when you look at it, there's probably 10 or more. So like there's a pose called the ta-da, which is that's where you throw your hands back and you're like, I'm here. And then there's a Canadian victory pose. This is my suggestion. I call the fucking A, which is when a hockey player scores a goal that's quite artistic. They go down kind of on one knee and they go like this. They pump their fist down. Yeah. Then they go up. Yeah. That's a uniquely hockey-based victory pose. Does not have a name. I'm just calling it a fucking A because that's what they would be kind of saying.
Yeah. My friend's kid does that when he scores. It is very inherent. I mean, he's like 12 or 14 or something like that. So
there is so let me give you the science because it's kind of interesting. The science, like this explains why we have behaviors and emotions, that they're useful. And yet you would wonder, like, why make the victory pose? You know, great, you won. Good for you. You can throw up your arms. But why do you make it? And it makes sense that, let's say you're in a more tribal situation, the tribe's attacked by a tiger or a leopard, and you kill the leopard, you know, with a spear, which is not easy to do, but you do it, which is amazing. Now, if you just walked away and said, yeah, I killed the tiger, you know, good, then doesn't mean anything, and it won't cause you to kill more tigers. But if you throw up your arms, do a dance, express like, I did the right thing, this is great, we're all happy, and everybody joins in, you're going to get more of that. The next time a tiger comes to town, you will be ready. And so it makes sense that these poses make us stronger. That's what the science is saying too. Huh. And actors are doing the same thing all the time. They're power posing.
So should we like cheer after a podcast? How could we put that in the podcast space at the end of the night? Just be like, yes, we did it.
Yes, you should cheer.
Good. Because I will 100%. That is now part of the routine. And
yes, but I'm not. You know, it's an interesting. This would be the explanation. People who win more cheer more. So it stands to reason that if you cheer more, maybe you'll win more.
Wow. Oh, that's fascinating. So then there's all these other poses. If we stick on that vein for a bit, like you go through in front of your audiences. I mean, I saw the movie and it was fascinating when you had that pretty, pretty technical audience there. But you were getting them all to try these different poses. You know, you open up your mouth and you say, wow. And it does change your state of being. I mean, it really, so there's all different ones. You know, you can be closed in and skeptical or wide-eyed and literally more open to things.
You explained it really well. So this is like, you can change the way you experience things by your behavior. So let me give you an example. There's research that shows that you learn more on the inhale. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I want to get that, I want to learn that, try inhaling it. It's sort of like snorting cocaine. I don't know if it's a good bad metaphor, but snort the thing you want to learn.
Allegedly.
Well, it comes back to breathing. I mean, that could be some of the power of breathing, right?
Yeah,
shallow breathing, holding your breath, all those unconscious behaviors that hold you back.
Maybe that's why cocaine leads to so much more cocaine.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it was a good metaphor, but I just more meant that inhale the thing that you want and you will learn it. And the word wow, so here's the thing too. Some of this stuff, the science is really solid. When I made the film, I interviewed some top psychologists, but I think the word wow is like a universal, but the scientists do not necessarily agree. But so you can even try it. So let me explain the science. When you see something amazing or when you hear something amazing, you might say, wow. Now, does it work in reverse? If you just say, wow, does this moment become amazing? And I'm going to suggest to you that it can. And there's a very simple exercise. We just start going, wow, and wow. and we respond to each other's wows by going, wow,
Wow.
Wow.
wow,
Wow.
Wow.
wow, wow,
Wow.
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 Now he's gonna get us laughing.
Now, see, this could be useful in podcasting.
Oh, very much.
We got to start saying wow more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you, did you feel like it was kind of like interesting?
Yeah.
It brought on the feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
So that this phenomena is studied but not well understood, that the body leads you into states. So that suggests you should choose good body states for yourself, like happier states or more confident states, basically. It's important. One of the weird examples of this is with phones. If you look at phones, the way most people look at phones, they crouch over like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you take away the phone, what you're looking at is depressive posture. That's what depressed people do. They hunch. They're kind of like this. They hunch over. So that's why if you look at your phone, I recommend looking at your phone kind of like this. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Like, yeah. If you're going to have a phone, you might as well look at it confidently. Yeah, that's right. See? He's doing it. That's good.
I'm taking notes.
Anyways, all these things are called power poses. They were put together by a Harvard psychologist named Amy Cuddy, and she developed a technique called power posing. And the way it applies is she basically says, if you have a high-pressure situation, like a job interview, a public speech, maybe even a date, that it is to your advantage before you do it. This is what she developed. Before you go on stage, you power pose. You put your shoulders out, you put your hands on your hips. Sometimes you hold your hands up in a victory pose. Just take up space. That by doing that, when you come on stage, you will act out more appropriate behaviors to a public speaker. You'll be more confident, and you'll likely have better outcomes. Now, there is controversy about whether people really get better outcomes, because if you power pose badly, if you walk into a job interview and you're like, it's me, Superman, people will go,
what a cocky fuck.
Yeah. What an idiot. That guy's an idiot. And that happens a certain percentage of the time. It totally backfires. A huge backfire ratio. So you have to do it correctly and calibrate to the situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you're talking about power poses, and one of my guilty pleasures is the OA on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but we just watched the recap of season 1 last night because we're getting ready to start season 2. And I mean, in that movie, they're using those weird sort of poses, and they're bringing people back to life and stuff like that. Is there any did you look into any external use of power poses and being able to affect the other people with them?
Sorry, whether they affect people that are looking at you or they affect people?
Yeah, in the OA, they're like pointing these hand signals and doing these dances, and they're doing them to each other. And in the one spot, they bring Buddy back to life or whatever, which is probably, a little overboard. But
yeah.
But, is there, I mean, we're seeing a lot of that in some healing and stuff.
It could well be. Like
Reiki's kind of like that, right? In some ways.
Yeah, it's like Reiki. You're right. And if you did like power Reiki, it would be better than like super low power Reiki, like loser Reiki. Probably not going to work on you as well as winner Reiki. But yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Well, yeah, and kind of building on that, one of the questions I had after watching your movie was, if you're in a negative environment, like let's say somebody's in a work environment and it's not very positive. Wow. Does it like, so you're in these poses, it changes your state, and obviously it affects the way other people look at you. Will it affect them? Yeah. Is it contagious in a way as well? Because there is, you hear about these people talking about energy vampires or you're if you're in your authentic state and you're shining your light, that it will affect other people. So it kind of makes me think along the same veins with that.
Well, it fits in with everything.
This stuff is very contagious. Like, that's one of the problems with power posing. If you walk in and you act like, "Hey, I'm the boss," people are going to be, "Wait, no, you're not. You're not the boss." So there's a bunch of reasons why it's problematic. But on the other hand, there are a bunch of like lower power poses. Like for example, when there's a situation you might be humble, then adopting a low power pose actually affects other people, makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But similarly, I agree. Like, okay, there's a very interesting thing. Let me tell you how this affects your experience of the world. So let's take smiling. There's a study that shows that you get up in the morning, or I don't know, let's say you get up, and whenever you get up and you walk out and you decide to arbitrarily smile, meaning you don't have any reason to smile, you just decide to do it as an action. You actually bias your brain to notice more things to smile about. So you mess with yourself. Same thing with laughing. If you just laugh, so generally we laugh because we see something funny. But if you laugh, you start to see more funny things. So it's this weird way that you can distort reality by your outward behavior. And that's in the film. Like, it's the weirdest part. It's really a lot like drugs. So you can get high on, let's say, laughter, and then your world will become more laughy. So it's a little subtler than that, but that's kind of how it works.
Well, and that crosses over with all that new age stuff, The Secret and all this positive thinking and affirmations. I mean, if you're saying affirmations, then you are putting yourself in that different state. I mean, whether you do it with a smile, maybe doing it with a smile on your face makes it all that more powerful.
Yeah, so people have compared this to The Secret, but The Secret, they talked about the law of attraction. In this film, we talk about the law of action. And the law of action is that you distort the universe towards or against the actions you take. So if you smile, you tend to get more smiles. If you go and punch a lot of people in the face, you're going to get punched a lot in the face. That's just the law of action.
Treat other people like you want to be treated.
Sorry, which movie?
Treat other people like you want to be treated.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. It's the golden rule. That's the golden rule.
Yeah, and I mean, in a lot of ways, that kind of is the secret, because if you can subtly affect I guess if you're subtly affecting your mind enough to affect reality that way, it's kind of the same thing. If you're worried about how you're broke all the time, you're gonna be more broke, and if you're worried about how fill in the blank. So there is an aspect to that fake it till you make it sort of mindset. Yeah,
totally. That's right. I think that that's what abundance theory says too. That if you keep thinking about I've got no money, this is actually even more hypnosis. Keep telling yourself I got no money. Eventually, that's who you become. You're the guy who's got no money. So you got to change that program.
Yeah, well, we had Scott Adams on the show, and I mean that guy's conquered the world in a lot of ways. $70 million in the bank. He's living the dream in a lot of ways. And he, to this day, he says the number one course he took was that course on hypnosis that taught him sort of how the human, that and Dale Carnegie. And between those two courses, and it sort of taught him how the human brain worked. And he said, and because of that, he became a firm believer in affirmations and stuff like that. And to this day, he says, I wasn't even the best artist in my high school class, or the funniest guy. But I picked up a couple of these skills, and then oh, by the way, I also spent a couple of years saying Scott Adams will be a famous cartoonist.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes it. And what's interesting? See, this is like the sequel to my movie that you're talking about. I'm not making this, but I was really fascinated. Like, one thing we cut out is the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the actor governor, right? What's interesting about him, he's very similar. He visualized his entire life before it happened. So he says that when he was a weightlifter, he visualized that he could see himself being Mr. Universe. And then he became Mr. Universe. And then people asked him, like, what are you going to do now? He says, I'm going to become a movie star in Hollywood. Everyone's like, come on, you're Austrian. You have like a thick accent and you look ridiculous. And then he became like this huge movie star. Then, and he said at the time, he said, because I visualized it. And then after that, he said, I'm going to become governor of California. And everyone's like, what? You're crazy. You're like movie star weightlifter guy, and then he did it. So he's just like the guy you were talking about. Some people, it's not everybody can do this. But some people are able to visualize the course of their lives before it happens, and then they use it as a manifestation tool.
Well, Jim Carrey too, right? Jim Carrey says too, he had written himself that check for $10 million, and right then and there he gets that spot in his first movie for 10 million or 5 million or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact number. I'm sure someone will correct me, but it's that same sort of thing. And I wonder if that, when you say it's certain people have this ability, what I think, one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he never really tells you what the secret is in there. But, he kind of leaves it open to you to put it together. But a lot of it seems to come to faith. I really think that faith is misplaced these days. And that part of it, there's a service, the adding value, all that's part of it. But faith seems to be a big part of it. So is it part of it is just that
they knew they were these people,
they just have faith. Yeah. They're just like, they believe it that much. And when if you can turn that corner, whether it's healing yourself, manifesting your reality, whatever, if you can get to the point where you believe it with your full being, it has an effect one way or another. I think it has a real profound effect. And even like Lynn McTaggart says in intention experiments, even if there's no magic in the world, it makes a measurable effect.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. And it reminds me of was going to say that you want to be the star of your own movie in life, and if you don't like yourself, if you're the villain of your own movie, then you're not likely to get what you want, or you're not likely to get far, I think. And it's a very interesting question. I think that, to me, if you've got a life, you got to believe in yourself. If you're lucky enough, to be alive, you might as well believe in yourself to the nth degree and devote yourself to the betterment of the universe, whatever that means.
Yeah. I was just thinking about a way where it could affect other people too. Like if you notice more, like you're saying, if you're in a space where you're noticing more positive things, let's say, or you're being positive, you're noticing more positive things. Yeah. That could affect other people around you to do more positive things. But if you're always noticing the negative thing, people will be scared of doing the negative thing. But if you notice more positive things, there could be a metaphysical reaction as well to just become, trying to do more positive things to have it being recognized.
Yeah, that makes sense. Huh. I also think part of what hypnosis teaches us is that it's the pictures, not the words. That's one of the key things about hypnotic behavior, is that people respond directly to images because the unconscious mind understands images and doesn't really speak English. The conscious mind doesn't really, it translates English. So that's why you say to somebody, if you ate too many hamburgers and you said to yourself, I got to stop eating hamburgers, your conscious mind is going to go, I got to stop eating hamburgers. But your unconscious is going to go, hamburgers, let's eat hamburgers. Yeah. And you see how you got contradiction. And that's why people have a hard time quitting addictions. Because they're going, I really got to stop drinking. So then their unconscious mind goes, drinking.
Yeah, totally.
Cigarettes too.
Yeah. I got to quit smoking. And they're like, smoke. Unconscious mind sees the picture. It doesn't care about it doesn't understand yes or no. So that's why you got to change your pictures, change your life. I like the way we're cooking up different slogans for how to have a better life. Yeah. I never heard that before, but I think that's a good, change your pictures, change your life.
So is that how you
it's a meme world these days, Albert. We have to be able to get their message across in a picture with a couple of words on it, or it's lost to most of the population.
What do you meme? I'm like, wow.
Is that kind of how you because I noticed in your websites and stuff that addiction is one of the things that you help through hypnosis, and I got some other questions about things that friends of ours have asked us to ask you about what you can help. But is that sort of how that works with addiction? As you get people to stop picturing that and change the narrative around to being healthy instead of being addicted or whatever.
Yeah, like one of the basic ideas of hypnosis is this simple distinction between conscious and unconscious. One of our problems is that we deal with our issues with conscious behavior. So you say to somebody, if somebody says like you drink too much or you should stop smoking, and the person can consciously understand you. They're like, yeah, I don't want to drink or I don't want to smoke or whatever it is. But the unconscious is not, it's kind of like a mystery. I worked in an addiction center. I always remember that people would sometimes when they would relapse, you would sort of catch them or find them like drinking, and you'd be like, hey, what are you doing? And they'd be like, what? Like, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm like, that's precisely the thing you're not supposed to do. Drink. The thing that you're doing right now. And they're like, shit, they look at the bottle and they're like, it was like somebody else was doing it. And that's unconscious programming. That's them reflecting honestly how they behave. And what hypnosis lets us do is find a way to change or modify the unconscious programs that are a little harder to get into or to see. And the way to understand them is that they work through pictures much more than language.
Huh. What about stuff like migraines or chronic pain or chronic symptoms, chronic issues?
Okay, let me tell you a crazy story because this is like a pretty crazy show. Can I tell you?
Anything goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you a story about this British surgeon named Esdale. So there's a famous hypnotic induction called the Esdale induction, and one of the things it can be used for, if it's done very deeply and profoundly, is that you can put someone deep into trance while they're awake, and then operate on them. So you can put them deep into this induction. You could maybe remove an organ. That would be dramatic. But famously, there's this guy named Esdale, was a surgeon in India, I think around the 1880s, and there were a number of wars, and he ended up getting patients that had gangrene, and he had no choice but to saw off their legs. Arms and legs often. And because at a particular time they ran out of anesthetic, at one point he was like, I got to saw off like something like 3 people's legs and I don't have any anesthetic. So he had studied mesmerism, which was the kind of name for hypnosis at the time. And he thought, well, I'll give it a try. I think there's a way to turn off pain. And so he tried this induction, and he famously like put some people into trance, and when they're in trance, they can still talk. You can talk to them. So you're saying like, how do you feel? And then he sawed off their legs while they were awake, no anesthetic. And he became quite famous. And there's one of the most amazing examples is that a guy had a 2-pound cancer tumor in his testicles, 2-pound testicular tumor. And he heard about Esdale, because the doctors had told him they couldn't operate. And he asked Esdale if he could do it. And Esdale used mesmerism, put him into trance. The guy has no anesthetic, 0. And he removes a 2-pound testicular tumor while talking to the guy. Just, when you do this, you check with the person. You say, are you feeling okay? Well, I'm sawing your testicles open. And and he was like, yeah, I'm fine. And
testicles are the devil anyway.
So to answer your question, in a certain kind of deep trance, you can treat pain as if it's just a signal. So you can say to somebody like, that pain that you have, that back pain, and I've done this with people who have back pain, it's just a signal. And here's the thing, that when you go to sleep, do you feel the pain? And they suddenly go, wait, what? You're right. How do I sleep? If I can feel and people always tell you, I feel the pain all the time. So I ask them, do you feel it at night when you're asleep? And they're like, no. And you say, you must kind of wake up and sort of realize you're not feeling the pain. They're like, yes. That says your brain can just turn off the pain. It's just a signal. The brain can just go, hey, pain, go to sleep. And it does. So we can do the same thing in hypnosis.
So is it a specific thing for pain, or is it just normal hypnosis that you do?
It's a bunch of particularly deep inductions.
Right.
Like you wouldn't do the very quick, like if I was doing stage hypnosis and I was like, okay, relax, sleep.
Boom, boom, cut off your arm.
Now I'm gonna saw off your arm. That would be bad. Bad idea. I wouldn't do that.
We might be able to set that up over in Eastern Europe someplace, though.
Yeah. I mean, kidney removal, sell some kidneys or something like that.
All on the up and up. All on the up and up. Well,
anyways,
go ahead. Sorry.
So absolutely, you can do that. You can use hypnosis for pain relief. If I can tell you the weird thing is, I know people might be listening. They're thinking like, well, it worked for me or my friend or whatever it is. The weird thing about hypnosis a little bit is that a certain part of the population is very hypnotizable, about a third.
Okay.
About a third. And so those people get dramatic results. But the other 2/3 initially might get no result. So you would be there sawing the guy's leg off and you'd be like, ow, that hurts, that hurts. No, it would never be like that. I'm joking. But the point is it wouldn't work on some people. So like a simple trance might not work on some people. So that makes people confused. They're like, well, does it work or does it not work? I assure you that on the third of the population who can go into deep trance quickly, they get dramatic results most of the time with hypnosis.
So does that mean that one of those guys that got his leg cut off had a bad time?
No, I think that one of the ways you do this, like to be serious, not joke around, is that you make sure that the person's in the right trance, and they have a warning thing too. You say to them, what level of pain do you feel? And they say that from 1 to 10. So you're sawing their leg off and you say, what level of pain do you feel? And they say 1. And you're like, everything okay? They're like, yeah. So the idea I think is the minute that if it changed, you would stop doing it. There are lots of safety protocols. It's a very serious business. I don't do medical hypnosis, but the people that do it are quite serious.
And that's the deep trance, right? So I think what you're saying is if it's a longer and deeper trance process, then maybe it'll affect more people. But you're talking about the quick trance, like people, only a third of the people can go into that quick trance, or
yeah, but everyone, in my opinion, can be hypnotized without exception.
Yeah.
Without exception.
Yeah.
But about a third of the population goes in super fast.
Yeah.
Like with a skilled hypnotist, they can drop you deep in trance in about 10 minutes. That it would then be useful. The same reason, like I said, going to sleep can turn off pain. Well, going into hypnotic sleep often can turn off pain. So it's like a delicate thing. I'll tell you why. Pain is useful. It tells you, like, if you're sitting on a pointed stick or something like that, or if you're burning your hand. So you want to be very careful about turning off pain, because if you do it and the person feels no pain, they can just fall down the stairs and be like, wow, this is great. Wow, this is fun, falling down the stairs.
Yeah, and it's a sign that you shouldn't be doing that. If you've twisted your knee and it's in a lot of pain, you shouldn't be walking like that. Like, you should be resting or whatever. Like it's useful in a lot of ways.
We got a bunch of questions in the chats here. This is a popular one in the chat, so I'm going to go to bump up to one here. We got one from our buddy Jonathan Hedger. If you've ever worked with stutterers, he said he tried hypnosis for his stuttering and it didn't work. He's wondering if you've ever worked with stutterers. Which is interesting, because remember Paul Stamets said to whack him mushrooms and convinced himself to stop stuttering. Yeah. So it seems like there's a possibility there.
Yeah. Let me explain why it might work. So yes, I have worked with stutterers, and generally it works. Though, again, I would say you want deep trance. Because, what hypnotic trance is? You remember Star Trek? Star Trek, the second what's it called? The Next Generation?
Next Generation, yeah.
The best Star Trek.
Okay, on that show, they had a thing called the holodeck, right? The holodeck. What was the holodeck? What happened there?
That was where you went in there, and it was like this weird grid place, and then all of a sudden it could pop up whatever you wanted.
Yeah, you could be in a Western, you could be in the future, past, whatever, and you could be different people too. So what hypnosis allows, so for example, with a stutterer, what hypnosis allows you to do is to go into the holodeck. And because you're very relaxed and you're in an open trance, you would do a version of yourself that doesn't stutter. You would just do that version. Now, at first, you'd do it maybe in imagination, and then you would do it in a more, action-based way. That would allow you a little bit of room to try things out. And also because stutters are stress-related, by definition, when you're in a deep trance, you're not feeling stress. It's required, like deep trance, people, their muscles are actually often more limp because it's a calm state. So hypnosis gives you that little break. So if stuttering is caused by stress and you're relaxed, plus you can holodeck yourself as a slightly different person that is not stuttering, those are the two-stage ways that you would heal the problem. And I am sure that you can. Wow. And one reason that it's a real issue is that language itself, talking, is actually hypnotic. People don't, like, I'll give you an example. It's an unconscious behavior. You don't exactly know how you talk. You just do. You don't think, oh, I'm going to make myself talk now and say some words. No, it just happens. So that's why it's a kind of unconscious program that you can get into through hypnosis.
Wow. Do you have another one from the chat?
Yeah, I got another one here. Is someone who isn't in that 1/3 that's easily put into a trance? Can they be trained to become easily put into a trance?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So the question is, can anyone? Yeah. So when I started, I am not very hypnotizable. I was not hypnotizable. I've become way more hypnotizable. And the answer is yes. So one is you can train yourself through meditation and self-hypnosis. That works quite well. Or you can also, there's a bunch of other ways to do it. There's now a lamp. There's light therapy can put you into trance. Even a good spiral. You can get good spirals on YouTube. Binaural beats help a lot of people. We should put a binaural beat on this podcast because then people would listen to it in a trance.
There we go.
But
I'll have to find a non-copyrighted one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a ton out there for sure. Guarantee there'll be a few out there. We'll put one at the end of the episode. Put it in the notes.
Can it just have some hypnotic super chats? Super chats. Keep super chat.
Grimerica.ca/support.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
How do we hypnotize people into donating to the show?
You know what you could do is, I just thought you're just doing it right now. It's called a dual induction. So I just want to finish the question. So the answer is yes, anyone can learn to be better at being hypnotized. To answer the person that, and there's a number of ways to do it, but it requires patience. Because compared to the other people who can do it in 5 minutes, it might take you a few tries. So to answer your question is, so there's something called a dual induction where you use two people who put a person in a trance. So let me tell you what puts people into trances.
Yeah.
So basically what puts people in the trance is, number one is being relaxed. So you get people to breathe in a relaxed way and you create momentum towards trance. And some people, weirdly enough, just by just saying relax, take it easy, some people will actually go into trance quite quickly, just like that, if they feel comfortable. But the other ways that most people go into trance would be if there's a little element of surprise or of confusion. And one of the interesting things about the brain, apparently, is it has an exact quotient of things it can pay attention to. So generally, the brain can only pay attention to 3 things at the same time. It can it can notice what it's seeing. It can pay attention to what you're hearing and what you're feeling. So if it goes more than that, the brain at that moment gets confused. And if you shock the person right there by, let's say, snapping your fingers or just doing something that they are confused by, you can then make a suggestion that goes very deep. You can just say, it's okay if you just sleep. Because they were shocked and confused and they were looking for what the hell is going to happen next, they just plunge into a trance. And that's where you see in a hypnosis show where the person goes limp and falls on the chair. They're in stage 3 level trance at that point.
does that have to be a in-person thing, or can that be
No.
done over Skype?
I do it over Skype all the time. A lot of my clients, I have clients all over the world, because Skype is a little flatter as a medium, but still quite good. Like a lot of things you do in hypnosis, like music, finger snap, surprise, all those things work over Skype. They just take a little more focus to make them work.
How long would it take to find out if either Graham and I fall into the 33%?
Right away. We should do it. If we're going to say it, we should do it.
Yeah.
A rule of, it'll take 5 minutes. People can do it at home.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
if you're driving, we always have to throw out the caveat that if you're driving, you can't do it.
That's right. If you're driving,
pull over or pause the podcast.
Yeah.
And you can jump in later.
That's an excellent suggestion. So now we could do it with music or without, or even with a spiral. I mean, I could find a spiral that might be interesting for you. Like,
sure, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, just give me a second. I just got to locate it. Sorry.
Yeah, you had a big spiral on your movie for the whole audience to watch.
Yeah.
That one time he was doing.
Yeah, I was watching that earlier today. Yeah, I was cracking up.
Yeah,
it's just just like people, they're dropping like flies.
And I can't believe this. Yeah. I can't believe the scientists. There's some of them that still say this isn't really happening, or it's not possible. It's very interesting.
I can give you an interesting story too. Well, to give you a feeling of why, like, hypnosis is a weird thing, because I would say in most things in the world, the scientists have it covered. That they're the ones who know how things work, right? But with hypnosis, it's different. I'll tell you a weird reason why. So you can go to conferences where there are like all kinds of special medical hypnotists. They are boring. They are terrible at hypnotizing people, and it takes them an hour to hypnotize somebody. The person does not go deep. Stage hypnotist in Las Vegas is way better. Why? Because a stage hypnotist has got to get his audience into trance, or he's got no show. So he's really understands the science of how to get people into trance quickly. The scientist is too scared. So because of that, the people who really understand, who see hypnotic phenomena the most, who understand it, are the stage hypnotists, which is a very peculiar aspect, because generally you would say, like, in aviation, you'd say probably aviation engineers like really understand how aviation works or something like that. But in hypnosis, it's the stage hypnotists that understand hypnosis.
Very interesting.
Well, it's like that in construction, I know. Anyway, it never works like the book does, or a little bit it does, but you're always going to want a couple people around that have been installing stuff for a while.
Exactly. Yes, because the reality is different from the theory, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and then the theory, you can't. It's a very action-based business. So I've just sent you a link on the chat in.
Yeah, he's found it. He's clicking on it now. Yeah.
Okay. So I would recommend sharing this with your audience if you like. It's a great spiral. It's a particularly good spiral, and the music is hypnotic, and we can use it to do our test.
Okay, now you're gonna make sure we're out of this. Like, and you can't you can't come in one day and say something and put us in a weird trance or something in the middle of a show or whatever.
So this is a classic question a lot of people have. Like,
yeah.
Can hypnotists do bad things to you?
Yeah. And afterward, like a year later.
Okay, so
you've got like 10,000 people in your pocket.
I just gotta get this.
So the answer is weirdly yes and no, but mostly no. I'll tell you why. So a common fear is, can a hypnotist hypnotize you to forget something? Yes. While you're in trance, it is very easy for hypnotists to actually cause you to forget even your own name, and maybe even how to speak English. I do it all the time. I demonstrate people cannot speak English, and they can't. Now, what will happen though is once they wake up, it all comes back. So let's say like a hypnotist hypnotized you and took your wallet, okay, and said, now you will forget that I ever took your wallet, and you will never remember. Okay? This is what would happen. For about an hour or two, you might go, where's my wallet? And I don't know what happened to my wallet. But then, after about 2 hours, because it's basically hypnosis is like a nap or a sleep, when you come out of it, you'd be like, holy fuck, that asshole hypnotist stole my wallet. I remember. And so if you did that to people, you'd get caught. And good hypnotists know that. Once in a while, people try it. There's like a bunch of examples in Italy, I think, where a hypnotist hypnotized cashiers to just put money in a bag. Like he would just show up at the cash and say, he would put them into trance, and then he'd go, put the money in the bag. And he would, and they would reach into the till and they would put the money in the bag. Now, the problem is, again, is the percent, what I said at the beginning, more or less 2/3 of people are not susceptible in that situation. So, yeah, like Nancy does it, but Sally suddenly goes, wait a minute, what do you mean put the money in the bag?
Yeah.
And so
your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me.
That's right. And now you're busted. And then that guy got caught. So yes, in a small timeline, you can do crazy shit using trance.
Right.
But most people who, by definition, most people who are good hypnotists who understand this enough wouldn't do that stuff because they're like, it wouldn't pay.
Yeah.
It would never pay.
Yeah.
But there's a great video I would recommend to your audience, which is that there's a friend of mine, Spidey, who's a well-known hypnotist, demonstrates that he could get out of a traffic ticket using hypnosis. He drives through a stop sign deliberately in front of the cops. Cops pull him over. I can even explain the induction they did on it. There's a specific induction, a well-known induction on the cop where he basically says, he snaps his finger, shocks him, and says, have you ever been somewhere and forgotten why you're there? What you're doing is you're making the suggestion to the confused person. So the person goes, am I somewhere and I've forgotten why I'm there? And literally that's what happens to the cop. And he says, oh, well, I guess I can just go then. And the cop goes, yes, you can just go. And then he just away.
Okay, so I got the video queued up. Do we need to be able to see you and the video?
Yes, just at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doable. And then I got the video in the chats so the audience can start queuing it up.
So the video's in the what? The YouTube chats? Like you put it in the YouTube chats?
Now,
okay.
I'll have it in the show notes.
I'll have it in the show notes. Okay. I don't have it yet, but anyways, yeah, I'll get it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So maybe while we're setting up, I'll just make some suggestions to the audience.
Uh-huh.
Just that usually just make suggestions like no matter you're always going to remain safe. One thing to be careful of is that you're sitting in an appropriate chair because some people will slump in their chairs. And if you're on like a concrete floor or if you're in a place where you could fall over, then it's better that you sit, comfortably.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
Okay.
And the other thing is not to worry about waking up. Like I said, even if we put you into trance and we said for the rest of your life you're going to be in trance, you would wake up in about 90 minutes. Generally.
Okay.
So.
Could we not do that either, though?
Not go in trance forever? They said?
Ideally.
Okay.
Okay, where was... Oh, yeah. We'll see. This may or may not get us...
banned from YouTube?
Not banned. They might just shut the stream down. Yeah. We might get a slap on the wrist. We'll see what happens. It doesn't have a lot of views. I doubt it's copyrighted. We'll see what happens.
Sometimes when you play a YouTube video in a YouTube video, it's.
I wrote the music. The music is
nice.
mine.
Oh.
The spiral isn't mine, but
okay.
I think it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
So YouTube won't be able to see the spiral.
Okay.
Nomad says he's already hypnotized.
I know. I feel sleepy myself already.
You're always.
Wait, it's funny that he said that because there's a law in hypnosis. Everything that assumes trance creates trance. So if you already are hypnotized, you already are hypnotized. That's kind of how it works.
That's awesome.
Okay, hitting play.
Okay, so what we're going to do is just test your hypnotizability. And testing your hypnotizability does involve sort of seeing if you can go into trance. And the best way to do this is that trance is just a form of extreme relaxation. And what a good hypnotist is doing is providing you with the techniques that produce a more dramatic relaxation than what might normally be, let's say, permitted. So what you want to do is make sure you're sitting comfortably in your chair because your body wants to be comfortable when you're doing this. And then you're going to take a deep breath. But when you take the deep breath, starting in 3 seconds, breathe straight towards the ceiling. 3, 2, 1, breathe deep. And when the breath gets to the top, just let it drop. Just let it drop in a relaxed way. Very good. And now, take a second deep breath in. Deep, deep breath.
Was I supposed to hit play already?
Oh yeah, you can play the video.
Okay.
And while we're playing the video, just follow and look deep into the spiral. There's a spiral playing, and as you look into it, just imagine that you can just relax just a little bit more. So now, take a third breath in, third deep breath in. Hold your breath for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now slowly let that go. From here on in, every breath you take makes you more relaxed. So you're going to breathe in relaxation and breathe out anything you're worried about or anything you're stressing about. Just breathe that out. And continue to breathe in relaxation, breathing out stress, while you look into the center of the spiral. Now, in this relaxed state, I'm going to suggest to you that you can breathe relaxation into particular parts of your body. So start with your forehead. Breathe relaxation into your forehead, just like you're inhaling relaxation. Now, breathe relaxation into the muscles in and around your eyes. So let your eyes relax. Let your tongue drop in your mouth. Let your shoulders relax. Let your elbows relax. Let your hands relax. Let your chest relax. And when your chest relaxes, you can breathe that much deeper as you breathe in fresh, cool air, and you breathe out any kind of stress or worry. Breathing in relaxation, breathing out stress. Now, in this very relaxed state, we're going to do the first test. So the first test, and I guess you're going to have to maybe see me, or you guys can see me, or I'll describe it for the people that are just listening. You got to put your hands up as if you're going to clap. So you're putting your hands up just like you're going to applaud. And what you're doing is going to slowly, slowly bring your fingers and your hands together as if you're praying. Sort of looks like you're praying. And when they touch, you're now going to put all your fingers over except for your pointing fingers, so that your pointing fingers are sticking up. So your hands are wrapped around each other, but you guys will get it right, but your pointing fingers are sticking up. Good. Tighten your hands a bit. Good. Now, look at the space between your fingers. And as you relax, you're going to notice something interesting. It's almost like there's a force pushing your fingers towards each other all by themselves. All by themselves, your fingers start to move closer and closer as you relax. As you relax, your fingers all by themselves move, and eventually they will come to touch. As you relax more, your fingers get closer and closer, and when they touch, you can just drop your hands on your lap. When they touch, you can relax. Good. Beautiful. First test. Now, for the people that are listening who may have found that part hard to follow, the second part is really easy. It should work. So now in this very relaxed state, I'm going to suggest to you that we're going to blink 3 times. And what's interesting is just closing your eyes. When you close your eyes, you can actually relax just by closing your eyes. So when I mean blink, I mean just close your eyes. And we'll do it 3 times and count the first time. 3, 2, 1, close your eyes. Hold your eyes closed for 1, 2, 3. Now reopen them. Now do it one more time. 3, 2, 1, close your eyes. Reopen them. Now last time, I'd like you to feel your eyes getting heavier, if you don't mind. Imagine your eyelids getting heavier, heavier, and just allow them to close in 3, 2, 1, now. Your eyes close tight. And what's interesting is that your eyes feel heavier and heavier, and as they close tight, it almost feels like they are locked shut. And what's interesting is your eyes are closed so tight that even if you were to try to open your eyes stay shut. Your eyes are locking down tighter and tighter and relaxing you more and more. And even if you were to try to open your eyes would stay shut. In fact, the more you try, the more they stay shut. The more you try, the more they stay shut. In fact, you can try to open your eyes. You can try to open your eyes now. The more you try, the more they stay shut. If you cannot open your eyes, on the count of 3, 2, 1, you will be able to open your eyes in 3, 2, 1, now. There you go. So, of course, we can't see the people in the audience, but those are two very interesting tests. So, could you open your eyes?
No, I had a hard time.
Yeah, there you go. You respond well to hypnosis.
Yeah, I definitely felt them.
I was able to open my eyes, but it was more of a struggle than I expected. Like it took me like 3 or 4 chances, and I had to really pry them open. And I had to like turn the volume down on the video halfway through because it was kind of starting to come over top of your voice. So I had to like break out of the trance for a second. Graham was in the whole time, and I still had trouble opening it. Everyone in the chats is saying, "Holy moly, wow."
Wow.
Yeah, that's a crazy one, Nate. What that is what you experienced is your conscious and your unconscious at the same time. So you were like, I can open my eyes, but I also can open my eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the two sides of you right there. And sometimes when people are hypnotized and they're doing like crazy stuff, like they're chickens or that kind of thing, they'll say, I knew what was happening the whole time. But you were like a chicken. How did you know that? And that's just weird. The unconscious mind goes off on its own.
That's what was weird about it. I was because for a second there I was lost, and I was like, oh yeah, you're already asking me to open them, and then I was like, okay, I'll try to open them a little bit. So you're aware of what's going on, but then I was like, oh, actually they're not opening. Maybe they are stuck.
Yeah.
And then I'm knowing it's happening at the same time, which was kind of weird because when I watched your show, that's what I noticed with some of the people that were hypnotized. It was like they were still somewhat aware, but they were doing all these crazy things. Yeah,
like one of the reasons why that this is a TEDx video, TEDx I did called "Is Hypnosis Fake?" And a lot of people, I still get like thousands, well not thousands, but like enormous numbers of emails from people or messages to people who are like, you know it's fake, we know it's fake, and I'm like, as you know, it's not fake. And it's just funny that people are so sure of themselves. People are like, they're so crazy sure. And so one of the things that people is controversial is that there's a woman who I hypnotized to do Kung Fu. It's a pretty standard thing. Give me 100 people, I can hypnotize like 20 of them to be Kung Fu masters, and they will look impressive. Now, what happens is the woman who's the Kung Fu master is half in trance. She's halfway in, and she suddenly like stands up and is starting to do Kung Fu, but it's like she's looking at her own body and it's like waving around doing stuff, and she starts laughing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people watch this, they're like, look, she's an actress. She's fake. But when you understand hypnotic phenomena, you know what that is. You know that the person that's sort of halfway between both states.
Yeah, that makes sense now that I've been through it.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to try that when I'd like to try that when I'm at home and not in the studio with a bunch of screens in front of me. It'd definitely be interesting. Is there a video someplace where that kind of has that sort of with you doing with the spiral and the talking?
I think there's a bunch of, like, I don't do it, but there's a bunch of hypnotists online who say, like, test your hypnotizability, like that are that's what they do. They offer to test your hypnotizability, and then you decide if you want to work with them or something like that. So that is there are a bunch of tests online. I showed you like 2, and there's probably about, I would say, I don't know, like I know of about 12. There's 12 or more different tests that are different ways of finding out. And like I said, is that some people might really respond. Like some people probably went in deep. But what's interesting is it's very sensible. Like I don't think anybody's written to you and like, I fell down and I woke up on the ground, or I broke my teeth. That doesn't happen because the unconscious mind looks after you. It only lets. That's why we tell people to get comfortable, because if you're uncomfortable, you're only going to go so deep. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what's with this thing where you we put our fingers together, and before you even said it, I was like, why are my fingers moving together?
Because
and then you said they're moving together, and why?
Because it's like a delicate balance. It's sort of like a delicate balance, and I was going to say that it doesn't take a lot. It's just the suggestion that your fingers are magnetized that will do that. I'll show you another one that's like kind of fun to do too. So what you do this way is you push your arms out like this. If you don't mind, like push them all the way out, and bring them a little bit closer together. Okay. So now push them out good and hard, so they get really solid, good and solid. Okay. Now, I'm gonna like you to imagine. I'm just gonna ask you to close your eyes now, and just relax. Good. And as you relax, I'd like you to imagine that there is a magnetic ball between your hands, and on your hands you're wearing metallic gloves, and you can feel the metallic ball pulling your hands towards the center all by themselves. And as you relax, you can feel that pull becomes stronger, and your hands naturally start to get closer and closer as you relax. And eventually, hands will just come together. Now, I'm going to stop you there because I'll tell you, I'm going to reveal an amazing induction. So what a stage hypnotist does at this point is he will actually go up to the person, say to them, open your eyes, and then clap their hands together gently. You don't do too hard. And then say the word sleep. In most cases, a third of the population, if you do that, drops into deep trance. Why? Because they thought there was going to be a magnetic ball between their hands. That's what you told them. Like they were seeing it. And then you clap the hands together and they're like, what happened to the ball? But they're like, where am I? And then you say sleep and they're like, okay, I'll just go to sleep.
Wow,
and then
that's
they do it.
Crazy. Do you know what it is about the third that's different? Like, what, is there something in their physiology or something in their neurology?
Yeah. I'm thinking of making a documentary about this. I actually think it's a positive thing. It's sometimes portrayed negatively because it's associated with gullibility.
Yeah.
But I don't think, but there is research on this, and there's no indication that people that are more prone to hypnosis are more gullible, less gullible, more intelligent, less intelligent. The correlation, the one research correlation is that they tend to have a stronger visual imagination. So people that are more hypnotizable, like experience the world more in pictures, which makes sense, or in sound. So they're just more and less in words. So those people tend to be more hypnotizable, but it's all kinds. Like for example, athletes are disproportionately hypnotizable. I'm not sure why. Artists are hypnotizable. People who smoke pot are more hypnotizable because I think pot itself is hypnotic. Like if you want to understand hypnosis allows you to kind of go deep into things. Like you look at a coffee cup. And you go into trance, and then like you understand the coffee cup. That's just like smoking pot. When you smoke pot, you're like, you look at a cheeseburger and you smoke pot, you're like, whoa, cheeseburger. Like you go into it. So it's a similar principle. So people have visual imaginations. People that are athletes and people that smoke pot tend to be more hypnotizable.
Awesome.
Well, you're an athlete and I smoke pot.
There you go.
There you go.
And we're both easily hypnotizable.
Yeah. I mean, I felt really relaxed. Like that was one thing I was able to relax, and even from the beginning. So I think that probably helps, like just meditating and just being quiet and trying to relax on a regular basis. Derek's going to be doing that all the time now. So one thing I do want to talk about before we end up running out of time is my favorite part of the movie was you and Dr. Epstein staring at each other in that I love you exercise, and you did that so well. I was just laughing because it keeps going to both ends. You're just staring at each other's eyes. Oh my God. So we should probably touch on that part and the meaning of that. Like that's pretty important to me. That
Yeah. So okay. So this is from a documentary called "You Are What You Act," and I should explain that in the film, like you guys, I think like I'm really interested in hacks, and I think that hacks allow you to get more out of life and get deeper into things. And this guy Epstein is a guy who claims to have hacked love.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how he figured it out. And I think he's correct. I think that you can't, okay, first of all, you can't totally hack love, because I know a bunch of people thinking, oh, show me the hack for love and I'll do it on Louise in accounting, you know?
It's kind of got to be mutual still in a way.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of rules that apply, and you can't be
in a way
an idiot. Yeah, there are a bunch of rules that apply. But you can hack love in the following way. So Epstein, what he did is he studied arranged marriages. And at first, you know, anybody who hears arranged marriage, they're like, whoa, that's, you know, I would never do that. That's terrible. But if you look at arranged marriages, you find out, so this is usually in places like India or Africa. If you look at arranged marriages, a certain percentage of them are very happy. They love each other. They will describe themselves lifelong happy, right? Which is not something you hear that much about conventional Western marriages. So he studied it and he found out, well, what's going on? One of the things that's going on is that people in arranged marriages didn't get to choose who they were in love with. And then they realized, I got to do something. I got to work on this to make it work, because I don't want to be in a life forever where I don't love the person I'm with. So they practice love. They do more loving things. They do it either consciously or unconsciously. And so Epstein tried to break down the behaviors that are part of acting in love. And when he did that, he made 40 exercises. So when I went in the film, we did some of the key ones. So one of them is eye gazing. So eye gazing, I really recommend. It's basically where, so you can try this right now. If you're listening to this and you're with your boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, I mean, you can even do it with your dog. I'm serious. You can eye gaze with your dog. You guys can eye gaze.
Yeah, just do it now. Just look at me now.
Okay.
While he does it. Yeah.
I spend enough time eye gazing.
No, eye gaze, and then we're gonna follow his instructions. Let's try it.
It'll mess up the dynamic of the show. I stand by eye gazing 110%.
Okay, well, that's not all of it, though. There's more.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I agree. I don't need to eye gaze with you to get the full effect.
Anyways, for the people that are listening, because there might be people that are wondering, hey, how do you eye gaze? I can give you a really simple technique. So all you got to do is sit and do something in a relaxed place with somebody you like, and you look at each other, start right eye to right eye, and then just relax and breathe and play relaxing music, right eye to right eye. Then you can switch left eye to left eye. The reason I say that, when people eye gaze, they always mess it up because they go, what eye do I look at? They always go like, so you tell them, okay, right eye to right eye first, then switch. Anyways, the people that do this exercise report feeling more in love, or like they want to punch the person in the face. You might get that once in a while too. But then the other exercise he developed is called the I love you game. So the reason he developed this is he said there's a big taboo around saying I love you to people in our culture. So there's lots of people listening right now and they're like, I think my boyfriend loves me or my girlfriend loves me, but why won't she say it? And people spend like their whole lives like not saying I love you. So his idea is just get it over with. If you care about people, say I love you. And it turns out that, so his exercise is you got to say I love you to another person. The only rule is you got to say it differently each time.
And isn't it while eye gazing too, though?
If you do it while eye gazing, then you're doubling down on love stuff. Yeah, you can do them separately, but yes, you're making eye contact. And then he's got a bunch of other ones: trust fall, going through risk together. So this is like the classic date. Like you're on a date, you're looking at each other. There's a thunderstorm. You're outside. You get caught in the rain. You run in the rain. Okay. Then you get into a warm coffee shop. You've gone through risk together. Now you like get each other settled in a cafe. Now you look each other in the eyes. if you linger on each other's eyes, you're more likely to feel these kind of bonding emotions. Now, you got to check that the other person wants it too, because if you just start staring at people, it is creepy. You got to check. So now let me tell you the weird part of this. This is the crazy part. I wanted to give your listeners chills because it is weird. So if you look at his theory, he's like, Epstein then explains, and this is in You Are What You Act, that if you do these behaviors with people, you're going to be prone to falling in love even when you don't want to. And I was like, well, isn't that what actors are doing? Actors in movies, they actually face each other a lot by definition because of the way cameras work. So they are eye gazing. They're often in every script, if it's half scripts, people are falling in love. So you're saying, I love you. Plus you're going through risks together, like you're doing that stunt or you're running away from the explosion or whatever it is, or you're just, trying to remember your lines. Those are all the ingredients that cause people to fall in love. And so his theory is the reason why Brad Pitt or movie stars are always getting, falling in love, getting married, then breaking up, isn't because they're superficial and they don't know what they want. It's more likely because they're acting out these behaviors in every movie, and then they're like, wow, and we're wired to enjoy new love. So you're like, I do love Jennifer Aniston, but I also like Angelina Jolie. Let's just be the way it would work. So in the movie, we think the theory is that explains Hollywood. All the weirdness of Hollywood love affairs.
Well, I remember, wasn't there a study? I was actually just searching for it. I can't seem to find the one I was looking for, but my wife and I did it when we were on a road trip a little while ago, and it was like these 36 questions to fall in love or something like that. And I had got it from an article, and it had gone that this scientist, I can't remember his name, but he had done these studies back in the 70s or 80s or something like that, where he did all these couples, and eye gazing was part of it at the end. You did so long of eye gazing, and there was, 36 questions that they asked. And it was something like 25% of the fucking people in his study got married. Yeah.
Not surprised. Yeah, that's like, because we're psychological beings, and if you do the psychological behavior, you often get the result. Now, what he always explains is that it does require that you be compatible or copacetic, meaning, like Epstein says, there's probably 300,000 people out there that you can fall in love with, which is a lot, but it also means that you can't fall in love with everybody. If you guys don't have natural chemistry, you don't have some common values, you don't get along, it doesn't matter how many love hacks you do. Like, you actually might temporarily fall in love and then quickly start to hate each other or something.
Yeah.
But and what is revealing about this, and like the way, like, because you might ask, like, how do they know what they know? How can they be so sure about some of these things? Well, there's a really easy way to figure some of this out. Take people who everyone agrees are totally in love. We all know couples where they're like crazy in love with each other, or they're going through that phase, or we've all gone through that phase ourselves where you're crazy in love. If they isolate couples like that, so they get like 10 couples, they're all crazy in love, and then they study them and they find out they do specific things. So they look into each other's eyes a lot. That's part of it. And they don't even notice they're doing it. They tend to sit in each other's eyes more. They say affectionate things more. They kind of think their partner is capable of magic and weird things. They're just more, there's a bunch of behaviors that go with people being in love. And so they can, now what they're trying to figure out how to do is, how do you reverse engineer that? And you can reverse engineer it from the things you see in You Are What You Act, which, by the way, is going to be on the documentary channel, CBC documentary channel, April 23rd.
Nice.
Or
awesome.
you can get it on iTunes, too. You can get it on iTunes.
Actually, I got it on, I don't know where I watched it, on CBC, I think. I think somehow I got access to it.
Oh yeah, I think in April it might be. If I remember correctly, that it might be free in parts of Canada.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah. I just did the little. I have the I hacked into my little Shaw. You know what I did? Record. It's got the voice actor. I just said, "You are what you act," and then boom, came on.
Really?
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Oh, you hypnotized your DVR.
My cable.
We got some rumblings in the chat of some rumors that Irish people are not hypnotizable. Any rumors to that? Any truth to that?
I would guess to the contrary. But it is true that some people are more like Indian people are more hypnotizable. But like when I worked in India, I think African people are more hypnotizable. But you can't make that generalization about a culture. Like meaning with like there would be no hypnotists in Ireland if it was true that they're not very hypnotizable. But my experience has been above average Irish.
Really?
Totally
I was wondering if it was all that like harsh Catholicism. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if
could be the booze.
Like
too.
I could see Jesus Christ, Graham. You can't say that. Now you've made it. You can only say good things, or it's racist. You made it racist.
Okay, what were you going to say about Catholicism?
Well, I was going to say like it makes sense that Indian people might be because their sort of worldview or their outlook on life has a lot of room for that, and the soul and the body being different. So it could be a cultural thing.
Yeah, like and they're more comfortable with the idea of like relax, go into trance because it's
meditating and yoga.
Yeah,
and,
Yeah, but here's the thing. Catholicism is a great example. Because one of the things that is hard to understand about hypnosis and worth understanding is that it's going on all the time. So one of the things that's weird is we'll see. If you went to a hypnosis show, you'd go, "Whoa, that's weird, crazy stuff. I've never seen anything like that." But actually, if you go to church or if you go to yoga, you actually see hypnotic phenomena. So let me explain. One of the rules to hypnotize people is to create eye fixation. So eye fixation is when they say, look at that spot on the wall, or look at that icon. So when you go to church, they've got like the crucifix right in the middle. Then they've got the incense going slowly back and forth, which is basically, and then they talk in a monotonous way. It's basically, and the people are just staring ahead. That's trance behavior. Now, and then they sit there for a while, and then they wake up. Now, it's even more obvious in yoga, where I go to yoga, and some yoga classes, I'm listening. I've told my teacher this. I'm like, everything you said is exactly the same as a hypnotic induction. Now, so you would go, okay, you mean that people doing yoga are hypnotized? I'm like, well, look, they're doing exactly what the teacher is telling them to do to the inch. They're not complaining. They're not making any sound. They're deeply relaxed. They're looking inward. People often in yoga are hypnotized. But if you ask them afterwards, you say, how was your yoga trance hypnosis class? They'd be like, what are you talking about? They'd be, I was in full control the whole time. Just like the people in hypnosis who were like the chickens. They're like, yeah, I knew I was being a chicken. They're like, yeah, I knew I was doing lotus position. Like nobody was like, but you were doing it exactly when they told you, exactly as they told you. And you are exhibiting trance behavior. The people's eyes might be flickering. They're breathing in a trance-like way. And so we are just not trained to understand trances, so we don't normally see them. But when I go to yoga, I'm like, if I went to church, I would see people in trance. The church would disagree. If I said to them, half your congregation is in trance, they'd be like, what? Call the police.
Yeah, exactly.
What about like we have a question in the chats about interrogation techniques. So I'm wondering if people are aware they're being a chicken, then it's not even really like a truth serum then, is it? Or are they in there? Does it work like that?
That's a good questions. It has to do with depth of trance. So like, for example, there's a point where a guy's a chicken, let's say, but he kind of knows he's hypnotized and he knows it's like he's dancing around like a chicken, but he's still Bob, right? If you go deeper than that, so this is like a deeper trance, the guy is just a chicken. He doesn't even remember being Bob at all. And so one of the reasons, yes, truth serum. So So, for example, there's a field of hypnosis called accelerated learning, where you can make people learn things faster in trance. But the explanation is weird. People think it's because like it's unlocking the supermind, which is not. I think that's bullshit. What it's actually doing is hypnosis can remove inhibition for a very mechanical reason. Let me tell you what it is. The seat of inhibition is in this part of the brain. I'm pointing at my forehead. The prefrontal cortex is kind of right here, language inhibition. When you go into deep trance, you move back to the older brain, and this in deep trance, can turn right off. So that's one of the reasons why people do crazy stuff on hypnosis shows, is their inhibition is much lower. They still have a little bit, but they're much less inhibited. So people get better at stuff when they lose their inhibitions sometimes. They can learn faster, they can move ahead faster. That's basically how it works. So in interrogation, yes, if a person was inhibited and you made them really relaxed and you put them in super deep trance and they went in and then they're like, yeah, it's okay to talk about whatever I should talk about, they might very much like reveal truths about the situation. But I don't know if that's a reliable way to get evidence, and it won't work. And here's the other thing. A lot of people are really worried about when people have extraordinary powers of hypnosis, and a guy just walk up to me, as they do in that movie, what's it called? Now You See It? Now You See Me. It's like a Hollywood movie which has hypnotists, like Woody Harrelson plays a hypnotist, and he just walks up to people and he pulls on their wrist and they drop into trance. I can do that. But first of all, I wouldn't do it to somebody who I didn't have permission from. But if I just walked up to somebody who's walking down a hall towards me and I grabbed the wrist and went sleep, 98% of people will not, because they'll be like, some fucking guy is grabbing me. Like they'll
go
wake
into
up.
Fight or flight pretty quick. Yeah,
that's right. So one thing you got to understand about hypnosis, like the people who got hypnotized during the show or are worried about it, is it only happens because you agree to it. Meaning you consent to do the exercises, you consent to try the breathing, you consent to go along with, you look at the spiral, whatever. Because you consented and you went with it, you allowed yourself to go deep. And then going that way, you can get very deep. You can get to chicken deep and deeper. But if you didn't want it to happen, if you were really like, I don't want to get hypnotized at all, you can just stop it. There are very few exceptions. Like sometimes the most hypnotizable people cannot stop themselves from being hypnotized, but that's quite rare. Almost everybody can.
So a couple things before we wrap up, if we have time.
Yeah,
one, I remember some drugs going around right. South America for a while, where they're talking about people going to the bank machine and falling into a trance-like state.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything? I can't remember what the drug was called or anything like that, but
that's quite possible. But you see, what I'm saying is you don't even need a drug, because a good hypnotist could do that on about 20% of the population temporarily without a drug. But that is true that some drugs are hypnotic. Like I said, like they actually call some drugs hypnotics. And so yes, it doesn't strike me as impossible. I know what you're talking about. I think Vice had a story about
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, you put people in the trance. But like I said, a hypnotist can do the same thing unless the person knows what's going on. Like I can tell you, like, if you were worried that you were being hypnotized against your will, I'll tell you a few things. Don't let people touch your hands, because your hands are the way that you can provide a short shock. Don't try to pay attention to more than 3 things at the same time. I'll give you an example of a classic induction where you could say to somebody, hey, just look at my eye. Okay, so they look at your eye. Now they're paying attention to one thing. They say, look at the black of my eye. They look at the black of your eye. Okay, then you say, look at the black and look at the blue part too. So look at both. So now you're paying attention to 2 things, right? Now you say, look at the black, look at the blue, and for a second, look at the white, and all 3 at the same time. If you say to somebody, you lean forward and you go sleep, some people drop straight into trance at that point. And that's because of the don't pay. So if you hear somebody talking that way, The other thing that people do when they put you into trance is they slow you down. So they would start going, okay, relax, take it easy. If you just go, no, I'm not going to go with that, you're not going to get hypnotized. But my reason for saying this is I think people are nervous about it, and they shouldn't be. Hypnosis is great. Like, one of the things I do is I demonstrate you can create so many healthy altered states. I can create drug states.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because you're gonna teach a course in the fall, right? About that.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I do a thing called the hypnotic bar, and so let me tell you how it came about. I was working at a rehab, lots of drug addicts, all kinds, and I got into a kind of a bit of a debate about. I was really curious about the blood-brain barrier. So the theory is that most drugs don't really make it through the blood-brain barrier. What they do is they affect the chemistry of the brain to produce the high by reducing the brain's ability to alter its chemistry in a certain way. So I was like, I believe, for example, that anything that's good that happens to you, like feeling pleasure, feeling high, feeling euphoria, is produced by your brain. It's not produced by the drug. The drug's a bunch of crap that somebody's, burned out of a plant. But your brain is what makes you feel this crazy, euphoric, wonderful feeling. So what I started doing, so I challenged these people in the rehab. I said, I bet using trance we can recreate any drug. And they were like, no way, man. I spent the last 10 years of my life doing heroin, ruining my life. You're not telling me now that it's all in my mind. I'm like, it's all in your mind, the whole thing. So drug addicts tend to be very hypnotizable. I took about half of them, put them into deep trance. First, we did crystal meth, because that was easy. Crystal meth is very like hypnosis. They experienced crystal meth, hallucinations, disassociation, everything. Then we did ecstasy. Ecstasy is an easy one to do. Heroin, alcohol. And what I started doing was this thing called the hypnotic bar. So that maybe fast forward a little bit, it gave me the idea that you could actually have a bar. So again, the way this works is not everybody can do it, but about a third of the population, they could walk into a bar, you put them into deep trance. In the trance, you tell them the water they're drinking is vodka. This is an old trick that hypnotists do. They hypnotize someone deeply. They give them a bottle of water, a glass of water, and they tell them it's gin. And the person will respond as if they're drinking gin. And they will get drunker. And so I took a bunch of people that did in Toronto who were totally sober, gave them shots of water. They were hypnotized to think it was tequila. And they got drunker and drunker. And most of them could not pass sobriety tests. They could not walk a straight line. They kept cracking up. They fell down. And then, in an instant, I could make them sober. Snap my fingers, they're totally sober. So a lot of people think that this is a crazy stunt that I do, that Albert does. But any good hypnotist can do this. Can take a group of people and show them altered states. Like, I have a particular technique to do it, and I'm kind of like, I'm the first one suggesting that it's a generalized phenomena, that all drugs are in the mind anyways. Why not recreate them naturally without side effects?
I wonder what that's like for addicts. Is that healing or triggering at all? Is there any?
You're perceptive, because one of the problems was, of course, a lot of the addicts are, could you hypnotize me to be on heroin again? Or could you hypnotize? Yeah, because of course it brought back the whole thing for some of them. And I realized that a rehab would not be the best.
Yeah.
It just happened. That's where I noticed it. But I realized after that, probably doing this in the rehab is not a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, you don't want them to go into any of those states, really.
Yeah. But a lot of them benefited, I think, in sort of realizing that, like, the miracle. Let's say you're addicted to heroin or you're addicted to cocaine. You think cocaine is the most fantastic thing in the world, or you think heroin is the most amazing thing in the world. But think about it. Your body is the most amazing thing in the world. It's your body that made those that made you feel those things. Yeah. It's your body that's amazing, and you just got to find a way. Just don't be lazy. What what drugs are is a lazy way. Like you can use a lazy technique to get yourself high, but you can get yourself high naturally. Any athlete knows that.
Yeah.
You can, the runner's high. It's a real high.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely.
That sounds great. So how do people take that course?
So I'm starting a thing. I'm a bit ahead of myself here, but if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, we're going to advertise it there. That's probably the easiest way. So there's a bunch of things. So one is the hypnotic bar. Yeah. The other thing is generally I'm going to do a teaching hypnosis course. Yeah. So my YouTube channel is just Albert Neremberg, my name, which I have to spell it because most people can't spell it. It's Albert that everybody knows how to spell, but Neremberg is Neremberg. It's all E's. Nerenberg. So if you go to YouTube and just there will be trailers for the courses over the next few months.
Awesome.
Did you say E-N or E-M?
E-N, like Norman. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I spelled it wrong on the YouTube. I'll correct it. I'm sorry, Albert.
It's all right. Don't worry. It happened to me my whole life.
So, okay. That makes me feel better. Well, now, that hour and a half fucking flew by. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's really been a great chat.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, if you're ever in Calgary,
sure. Might be.
Yeah.
We can get you in the studio. We'll hypnotize Graham. We'll get him on YouTube doing a bunch of crazy stuff. It'll be great.
That's right. Next time, we'll do some crazy chicken stuff.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get into the chicken
Just
stuff.
don't get me high.
We won't get you high. Can we get you pretend high?
No.
Hypnotized high?
No.
Does that break your sobriety if he hypnotizes you to think you did some shots?
I relapsed on hypnotism.
Oh, son of a bitch, that fucking Albert Neremberg.
Wow.
All right, buddy.
Right on, Albert. Okay. Thanks for coming. Have a great night.
Guys.
Yeah.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye. And that was our chat with Albert Neremberg, the hypnotist, the laughologist. I mean, we didn't even get into the laughology.
What's the laughology?
Well, have you seen those groups of people around doing the laughter religions and stuff? They're laughing in the park, and like it changes your whole thing. I mean, part of the guy in the movie, You Are What You Act.
Are they telling jokes or anything?
The laughing guy's in there, and when he's talking to him, he keeps giggling and laughing, and I mean, he's just laughing all the time, and
really
changes your whole state. Yeah,
we should start.
He's a laughologist. I mean, but we didn't even have time to get into that.
Maybe that's what we could do with the Back Bay there. We could suggest a laughology church.
There you go.
The Church of Laughology. Would you be the minister? You're not very funny. Sure. We should get you up on an open mic night.
Oh, for what? To do what? On an open mic night?
Fun.
Just to chat? To say poems and stuff?
Would you say a poem?
No. What's an open mic for? Do you say anything? Jokes? I'm not telling jokes on open night.
No?
No.
What if we did like a thing where we could get you up on open mic night and live stream the whole thing? What would it take to get you up there?
I wouldn't go up.
No?
No.
No matter what? Email Graham, tell him why you should do an open mic night. That was great.
I wouldn't even do karaoke. That's
really
one of my fears. Oh, I did have a fear. Adam was asking me questions. The 13 questions about the fears. I forgot about karaoke.
Oh, I don't mind karaoke.
Yeah.
It used to be more of a drunk thing, but I've done it sober.
Have you?
Yeah. It's not so bad. I could do it now, no problem.
I was thinking they need to develop an app for the iPhone. Like when you're listening to your music in your iPhone app, it should have a karaoke button where you just push it, and so you can sing along to the words.
There you go. Someone just stole your $1 million idea.
Why isn't somebody? It must have been developed already. But I looked.
The karaoke. Yeah. Why'd you look for it if you hate karaoke?
So it's like practicing. So
what are you practicing for if you're never going to do it?
Because I'm acting.
Are you?
Yeah.
There you go. Actually, I do improve your singing in the car. I approve because eventually we'll get you singing.
Yeah, you've heard me sing in the car. I can belt them out in the car sometimes.
I guess. Yeah, it's okay. It's always like 80s hair band shit though. That's the problem. Anyway, big thanks to Albert for coming on the show. Check out his stuff. Get hypnotized.
Watch that movie, and the TEDx is amazing.
That's right. Yeah. Do all that stuff. While you're playing around on the internet, head over to grimerica.ca/support and grimerica.ca/support. Support the show. Support the show. It's the best thing to do. Because Head over to
dual
Grimerica.
induction right there.
Yeah. Head over to grimerica.ca/support, guys. Sign up. It's great. You sign up for a monthly through PayPal, Stripe, Patreon. We got all these options. Honestly, it's that easy. You just type this into your shit. Grimerica.ca/support. All the buttons are there. One-time donation, Stripe donation, Patreon, monthly PayPal. You pick the number.
Yep. Check out the show notes for all the other ways to help support.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the show notes for non-monetarily ways to support the show. But yeah, it's time to sign up, guys. Enough's enough. Sign up for the show. Support the show. Be kind to people.
Eye gaze.
Eye gaze with your loved ones. Have a great week.
Love y'all.
Take it easy. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Okay, we're shutting down the live stream. We'll be back.